wind carried dust and whispers through the dry grass that edged Miriam's cabin. It was the kind of late afternoon that felt hollow, like something was coming, but hadn't quite arrived. The kettle hadn't whistled yet, and the fire had grown tired, but she didn't mind. She liked the quiet, preferred it really, especially since Caleb left. She'd learned to mend fences, shoe a horse, even butcher a hog, all things she never thought she'd do alone. But 6 years of silence teaches a woman things, like how to live without goodbye. So when the knock came, soft, then urgent, she wasn't ready. She opened the door to find a man barely standing. Blood crusted the collar of his shirt. His lips were cracked, his boots worn to holes. He looked like he'd lost a fight with death, and barely won. She caught him before he collapsed. It wasn't like her to open the door to strangers, not out here, not anymore. But something in the man's eyes had stopped her. Haunted, yes, but not dangerous, maybe even familiar. She dragged him inside, laid him on the sofa, and lit the oil lamp. As the golden glow spread across the room, she caught sight of something tucked beneath his torn coat, a silver pendant, a shape she recognized. Her breath caught. She'd seen one just like it before, years ago, around the neck of her brother. Miriam shook the thought off. Coincidence. Lots of things looked the same. And Caleb was gone, long gone. She cleaned his wounds, gently swabbing dried blood from a gash near his ribs. The man groaned but didn't wake. His skin was hot, fevered, and he mumbled things in his sleep. Nonsense. Or names. She wasn't sure. The next day he was still unconscious, sweating through the sheets. She placed cool claws on his forehead, whispered words of comfort she hadn't used in years, and hoped the man wasn't about to die in her house. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the pines, Miriam sat by his side with a book. She didn't open it. She just watched him. Something about the line of his jaw, the curl in his dark hair, the scar under his left eye. It gnawed at her memory like a coyote at a bone. When he stirred, it startled her. His eyes blinked open, blue as river ice, just like Caleb's. He looked at her, confused, and whispered one word. Mir. She froze. No one called her that. No one but Caleb. Miriam stood like she'd been struck. Mir, he whispered again, weaker this time. She didn't answer. Couldn't. Her legs backed up on their own until the wall caught her spine. That name hadn't passed anyone's lips in 6 years. Not since he'd left with a promise to return and a trail of broken trust behind him. She forced her voice through the knot in her throat. What did you just say? The man blinked, confusion fogging his face. He tried to rise but winced, falling back. You look like her? Like Mama? Her pulse thudded in her ears. Who are you? She asked. Say it. He closed his eyes, jaw clenching. You know who I am. Her fists tightened. Number. My brother disappeared in the night and left me to bury our parents alone. He wouldn't show up half dead, wearing some stranger's coat and pretend not to recognize me. His hand moved feebly toward the pendant. They took everything. Even my name. I didn't think I deserved to come back. Miriam stared. Her skin prickled like snow had fallen indoors. You don't, she said. You don't get to crawl in here with fever and guilt and think that makes up for 6 years. I tried to write, he rasped. They never let me. Who? She asked, sharper now. He winced, coughed. Men I rode with, after the war. Things got bad. We made worse choices. I wanted out, and they didn't take kindly to that. Miriam's eyes flicked to the bruises under his ribs, the stitched gash above his knee, the ring of burns around his wrist. "You ran," she said, piecing it together. Again, his voice cracked. "I was coming home." Home. The word rang hollow in her chest. She carried this ranch on her back, grown bitter in the silence he left behind, learned to not need anyone. And now he was lying here like a broken promise come to life. But still, he hadn't called her Mir in 6 years, and still remembered what Mama looked like, and he was dying. That night, she sat by him again. Her anger buzzed like bees in her chest, but it was joined by something else, something quieter, a grief that hadn't had a voice in years. She read from the old Bible, the way Papa used to, not for him, for herself, to remember she was still human. He stirred at one point, reaching for her hand. She let him. When morning came, the fever broke, and with it, her walls began to crack. The storm passed, but the weight in Miriam's chest remained. She stood on the front porch with her shawl wrapped tight around her shoulders, watching dawn spill pale gold across the prairie. Inside, Caleb still breathed, shallow, raspy, but alive. She had sat through the night listening to him fight for each gasp like it might be his last. The words he'd muttered about Hannah, about leaving them behind, still echoed like ghost wind through her bones. There was only one Hannah he could have meant. Her mother. Their mother. She turned and walked slowly inside. The smell of boiled herbs, old wood smoke, and damp wool filled the small cabin. Caleb lay half-turned on the cot, lips dry and cracked. He looked younger in sleep. Weaker, yes, but softer somehow. The hard lines that anger had carved into his face over the years had eased in the fever's hold. She dipped a cloth in cool water and dabbed his brow. He stirred, and for the first time, his eyes opened fully, clouded, confused, but aware. "Miriam?" he rasped. Her hand paused. "You know who I am." His gaze flickered toward her, the corners of his mouth tightening. "Course I do. You look like Ma." A pause. "I heard you talking in your sleep," she said gently. "You said her name. Said you left. Us." He winced, turning his face to the wall. "I was scared. After Pa died, and the crops failed, I couldn't fix it. Couldn't take care of you both. So I ran. I thought you were dead." "I almost was," he said, voice ragged. "Drifted from job to job, drink to drink. I hated myself, Miriam. Thought it was better you thought I was gone than know what I became." She pulled the stool closer and sat beside him. The silence that followed wasn't cold. It was heavy, like earth settling after a storm. Finally she spoke. "You left me with nothing. I buried Ma alone. Learned to trap, to patch fences, to cook from roots and scraps. I became a woman in the dark, angry, bitter, silent." Caleb's eyes brimmed. "I don't deserve your help." "No," she agreed, "you don't. But I didn't help you for you." She stood slowly, crossing to the fire to ladle broth into a wooden bowl. "I helped you because I needed to. Because I was tired of holding hate like a badge." She set the bowl beside him, then turned to the window. Outside, the morning sun caught the edge of her old plow, glinting like gold. "You know what the worst part was?" she said softly. "Not the work, not the hunger. It was thinking I didn't matter to anyone, that nobody would come if I cried." Caleb swallowed hard. "I should have come back sooner." "You can't change the past," she said, turning back. "But you can change what's left of the future." He tried to sit up, winced, failed. "I ain't got long. The doc and Carson said so. He was right." "I know," she whispered. And she did. He reached for her hand by frail trembling. She took it. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I just wanted to come home. One last time." Miriam nodded, tears in her throat. "Then rest, brother. You're home." 2 weeks later, she buried Caleb beneath the cottonwood by the river, where the roots ran deep and the light touched gently through the branches. The townsfolk had started showing up, shy and quiet, bringing bundles of food, a Bible, a clean shirt for the grave. Word had spread that Miriam Hart took in a stranger and forgave a brother no one else remembered, that she'd done it without fuss or pride, like it was just the right thing. After the service, as the townsfolk drifted off, the mayor approached her. "You're a strong woman, Miriam. We were wrong to let you struggle alone. If there's anything you need," she shook her head kindly, "just let me be part of the town again. That's all I want." He nodded. Later that week, children came by her cabin, bringing eggs, drawings, questions about rabbits and stars. She showed them how to whittle, how to mend torn seams. They listened. They came back. A season passed, then another, and Miriam, the woman once forgotten by family and town alike, became something new. Not just a farmer, not just a sister, but a part of the land itself. Her pain hadn't vanished, but it had softened. Her voice hadn't grown louder, but it had found its way into others' hearts. And sometimes, when the wind blew from the east, she'd stand by Caleb's grave and whisper, "Thank you for coming home." Even if it took him 20 years.